Recording. Okay, so we're working with these big questions, and we've talked about what are bacteria. Now we want to know how antibiotics work, and to do that, we need to know what kills bacteria. So we talked yesterday about what they have to do to survive, and can we do these things in our body? Can we make it tougher for them? Can we kill them by attacking their need to stay hydrated in our body? Probably not. Madison jerky is just not that great a notion. Jace jerky will never work.
Why not?
It's catchy, but it's really bad for Jace. So we don't want to. We can't attack them that way. We can't attack their need for homeostasis by drying them out in the body. That doesn't work. What about heating them up? Talk at your table with one another. Here are a few of you saying, well, no, that doesn't work because then you'd cook you. Because again, same problem. Bacterial cells are intermingled with your cells. Anything that you do to them that isn't targeted, that's going to attack all cells' need for homeostasis, is going to hurt you too. Now, there's a concept that we will look at when we get into ecology called tolerance curves. Remember I said if humans' temperature drops below what, you die? 88, good, 88 Fahrenheit. Core temperature rises above what, you die?
186.
No, 113. 98.6 is your normal temperature. You can get a fever. I probably have one right now. I'm fighting my little bacterial sinus infection here. That's fine. You can get a fever. Why do you get a fever when you have a bacterial infection? Why do you get a fever when you have a bacterial infection, Kimmy? You do get warm. You do. Your whole environment inside your body gets warm.
Bacteria trying to kill off your regular cells?
Your bacteria isn't trying to kill off your regular cells. However, your body is attacking the bacteria's need for homeostasis. It's making it a little warmer for them. Now, is it uncomfortable for you? Yes. It is. Nobody likes having a fever. Anyway, I'm going to have you guys switch seats. So Devin and Matt, can you flip seats? Thanks. Every organism has a temperature at which they thrive and do best, and life is perfect. Get a little hotter than that, things aren't so great. Get a whole lot hotter than that, you die. Get a little cooler than that, things aren't so great. Get a whole lot colder than that, you die. Has anybody here ever been so cold your hands wouldn't hold stuff? No?
Kind of.
You've never been like outside, okay, so working on a car, working on something in the garage, working on any kind of project outside in the cold, and it's so cold that your hands don't grip things well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's because your body is below its optimal functioning temperature range. You're not performing all that efficiently. Have you ever tried to take a test when you had a fever? Anybody ever come to school sick and tried to take a test when they were sick? You stay home. Smart, smart. I can tell you that you will see, I just poked myself in my own eye. You will see cognitive declines. That means your brain doesn't work as well when you have a fever. Guess why? You're functioning outside your optimal temperature range. You're not working all that well. Oh. I came to school one day last year, and I was sick, and I was miserable, and we were all sick. I just couldn't miss a day of school. And I walked up to my classroom door, and I pulled out my car keys, and I went like that. Oh, God. I should go home now. My brain was not working particularly well. I was functioning outside my optimal temperature range. When you get a fever, your body is making it harder for the bacteria to survive. Can your body generate a fever high enough to kill those bacteria? Not without killing you. Yeah, I'd kill you. I mean, a lot of these bacteria can survive to like 120 Fahrenheit. There's no way your body can make it so hot that they will die. But it can make life a little harder for them. That's attacking their need for homeostasis. Okay, now, we can't, in our own bodies, dry them out, We can't eat so much salt that we turn ourselves and the bacteria into jerky. We can't cook them in our own bodies. We probably can't introduce a chemical into our own bodies that would cook them. Can we attack their ability to make babies? Possibly. Are there chemicals that stop individuals from reproducing? Yes, there are. We have them for humans. We have them for other mammals. Guess what? We have chemicals that attack bacteria's ability to build more bacteria. Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Okay, so we know that there's a possible fight there. Attack their ability to make more of themselves. But I want to tell you that though we cannot salt them, we have a means of attack there. We do have a means of attack. So, I love making messes.
So cells are kind of like slugs.
This is a cell right here. I mean, there's more stuff in it. But this is a pretty reasonable imitation of a cell. It's a water bag. You know what the bag's made of?
Plastic.
Fat. In you and in bacteria and everything else, it's made of a special kind of fat called a phospholipid. Lipids are fats. We should write that down.
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
I
Woo.
thought it was going to break.
Me too. Lipids are fats. It is a strong cell. It's remarkable. And this is the cheap cell wall, or the cheap cell membrane from Aldi's too. So it's just a fatty bag. It's a bag made of these fatty molecules holding this jelly water stuff. What if we could, so we can't dry them out with salt. That won't work. What's protecting it?
The fat.
Well, the fatty membrane, but then further with bacteria, remember there's another layer, isn't there?
Yes.
What do we call it?
Some.
There's just the one. In bacteria, there's a second layer of protection. It's like double bagging your groceries.
When you have milk.
Yeah, when you have milk or something heavy or something that would be really messy if it's spilled. So bacteria have this double layer, but guess what? What if we could poke right through it? Could we start to dry them out?
Yes.
If we could poke through that cell wall and that cell membrane,
It's a slow leak.
it is a slow leak, but if we had enough, oh, this is fun. If we had enough holes, I think this poor little bacteria would die pretty fast, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I love making messes. It's probably a character flaw. Okay, so we can attack their need for homeostasis by either drying them out or by attacking their ability to make more babies. We probably don't have a real way to cook them in our bodies. We can make it a little uncomfortable for them, but we can't induce such heat that it would kill them. Okay, sure we have the word population down. Because we're going to think about not individual bacteria so much. We're not as interested in killing individual bacteria as we are in limiting the number of bacteria that are attacking you. Can you handle 1 or 2 bacteria? Yeah, it's not a problem. Tough. Can you handle tens of thousands of bacteria? No. No. You're losing a leg, you're losing your lungs at that point, you're overwhelmed. So we need to think in terms of controlling the populations of bacteria. And I use the word populations in the biology sense, that a population is a group of organisms of the same species living in the same time and place that can breed, that can reproduce together. Just remember, we're very concerned about that whole them reproducing. You don't want them reproducing in your body if you can help it. A couple are fine, as long as they can't make more. So a population is a group of organisms of the same species that live in the same time and place that can interbreed. Your gut has got a bunch of bacterial populations. The human gut has, in some cases, several hundred species of bacteria living in it. Hey, Ian, if you're not writing, do you want to fact check? Look at number of bacterial species in a human gut. Look that up for me, if you would. You can be my fact puller. So 500 to 1,000 species of bacteria living in your gut right now. Mmm. Mmm. A tub of yogurt. Who here has eaten yogurt? I love yogurt. We're going to make yogurt later in the year here. You know what yogurt is, right?
No.
It's milk in which bacteria have grown for some period of time, and the tartness comes from the material that the bacteria excrete. Basically, bacterial pee is what makes yogurt tart. So a tub of yogurt, if you walk into the store and you see a tub of yogurt and it says live cultures, active cultures, that means it's got species of bacteria living in it. Usually at least 3, some yogurts will advertise up to 12, which is not a lot compared to your gut. If we go out and take a shovel and we dig up a shovel full of soil, there are thousands of species of bacteria in, a shoebox full of soil. The pond out there has probably got thousands of species of bacteria. A puddle has got hundreds of species of bacteria. Your dog's skin has got all kinds of species of bacteria on it. Your skin! Ooh, that's another good one to look up. Number of species of bacteria on human skin. They did an interesting study a few years ago. Who here lives with a dog? Okay. Wow, almost all of you. Okay. People who live with dogs have more bacteria in common with their dogs than with other humans. We end up colonizing our dogs. Because, you spend time going, oh, good girl. Oh, that's a good girl. And you're getting their bacteria and they're getting your bacteria. You're sharing bacteria. You're giving belly rubs, you're just taking bacteria. Go home and belly rub your dog, I dare you. You're just sharing your bacterial populations. So everything and everyone and every place has got populations of bacteria.
Wow.
Okay, so I've got my little bacteria that I created a few times here. You don't have to draw it that many times if you don't want to. How do we kill bacteria on a desk surface?
Wait, sorry.
Wipe it off. Just physically wiping it off, will that work?
No.
You know what I do in the middle of the winter when everybody in here has been sick? What do I do? Oh, they're already living in water. That won't work. I spray them. Now, this is a combination of alcohol and vinegar. We'll talk about those components separately. Smells like French fries, doesn't it? But not quite right French fries. That's because it's alcohol, vinegar, and lavender. You wouldn't want to eat this on your fries. I think it smells marvelous myself, but, what do I know?
A lot of them.
So why does spraying them with rubbing alcohol kill them? Stinky? Okay. Who here has used too much hand sanitizer on occasion? What does it do to your hands? Dries them out. Guess what alcohol does to your cells? It dries them out. You guys are so smart. It actually has the ability to make little ruptures in some of those cells, and water will flow out of those cells, and you'll have little breaks in the cell, and so they dry out. So this attacks the bacteria's need for homeostasis because they dry out. But you can't dry out all the cells in your body, so we can't use alcohol in the body to kill bacteria. And besides, if you've got a bacterial infection down in a muscle,
Yeah, that's
I know it is. If you've got a bacterial infection down in your muscle, how many of you, okay, there was always a distinction when I was a kid. My mom put hydrogen peroxide on cuts. My neighbor's mom poured rubbing alcohol on cuts. When I got cut at her house, you better believe I did not tell her mother, and I hightailed it home because I was not having alcohol. Who's got an alcohol in a cut?
Oh my God.
You never gotten alcohol in a cut? I would assign you homework, but that would be cruel. So if you get a paper cut or something and you put hand sanitizer on it, it burns like the dickens, doesn't it? What you are feeling is your little cells dying and screaming as they do. Because it's killing your cells. It's doing cellular damage. It's doing tissue damage to your body. That's what we want to avoid, people. So when you put alcohol on a cut, it will kill the bacteria. But it will also damage your own tissue. So if you've got an infection in your lungs, could we have you inhale rubbing alcohol? No. It would kill you. Yeah, you don't want to do this. Do not treat your pneumonia this way. Well, hydrogen peroxide, same thing. It pops their cell walls. It kills them. You put hydrogen peroxide in your cut, it kills the bacteria. Guess what else it does? Kills your cells. So again, we can't put that in your lungs. We can't put that in your stomach. We don't want to do that because you're damaging your own body. So popping them with sort of brute force, this is like hitting things with a sledgehammer. We want to pop them with a tiny pin. Okay, so brute force is off the table. Cooking is off the table. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chase. We haven't, I'm going to say, we have not fully answered this one. This one's still a work in progress. Do you feel like you understand what this one is? What's antibiotic resistance? What is it? Talk at your table while I spy on you. So you guys know that it's when bacteria aren't killed by an antibiotic, and I heard lots of good bits and pieces. I heard the word survive. I heard a few other things. Well, what causes antibiotic resistance? There's a single word for it, and that single word you may have heard before. It's natural selection. This is an evolutionary process. So we're going to back up and we're going to talk about natural selection in order to understand how bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics. So here are the basics. All populations have natural variation. Why did I talk about what populations are? Because I wanted to talk about this. And all populations have natural variation. Look around. Look at one another. Are you all identical? No, you're all remarkably similar. You all have 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, 2 ears, fur only on the head and a few other spots, 2 legs, 2 arms, main body, trunk. You're remarkably similar. And yet, even within all those similarities, we have a lot of variation. Variations in shade, height, size, all kinds of things. Bacteria are no different. I have in the past asked my biology students to sum each one of these up in 4 words or less. How would you sum up all populations have natural variation in 4 words or less? I can tell you how they've done it. We're all different. It's true. We're all a little bit different in lots of ways. Chemically, physically. Did you know that there are some humans that don't respond well to particular medications? Some medications don't work for some people. Why? Slight chemical difference. My grandma was one of the unlucky number of people. I forget what it was a medication for like acid reflux, and like the 1 in a million side effect was hallucinations. 1 in a million, doc. She called my dad to say, Raymond, I think you need to come here because a bunch of men just went in the basement and they're cleaning it and they're moving things in and out, but I'm not sure they're really here. She was terrified. She was in her 80s living alone. and she was seeing people coming in and out of her house. 1 in a million side effect. But it happened to her. My grandpa, who was dead, by the way, for a number of years, was in the living room talking about band instruments with her.
That's actually very scary.
It was terrifying. At one point, she was seeing smoke coming out of the electrical sockets. You're 80-some years old, you're living alone in an old house, and you're seeing smoke coming out of the electrical sockets. If this is real, you need to call the fire department. If this is not real, holy cow. She was freaking, it was bad. She had a chemical variation in her brain that was incompatible with that drug. Chemical variation. You couldn't see it. You wouldn't know that to look at her, that you couldn't prescribe her this drug because it would make her hallucinate. It was for acid reflux, for Pete's sake. She had indigestion. Whew. All populations have natural variation. What that means is that in our little bacterial population here, yes, I flipped off the words for a second. In our little bacterial population here, some of them might be different. Which of these things is not like the other? Which of these things does not belong? I don't know the rest of the song. I just made a couple of differences. One's got a thicker cell wall. One's missing a couple of flagella. Are they the same species? They are. There have been some little differences. Maybe our little friend here doesn't move as fast because it's only got 1 flagella, not 3. It's the slow one. Maybe this friend here with the extra thick cell wall doesn't get holes punctured in it as easily. It's got tougher armor. Does that sound familiar? Tougher armor on a bacteria? We've heard that before. All populations have variation. Now, we're going to just briefly, I'm going to read the other 3 while you write, and then I'm going to ask you to get out your vocab and work on some Part C's. The environment presents challenges to survival and reproduction. My favorite biology student rephrase of that idea, life is tough. It's true. Life is tough. You are all survivors. You're here, therefore you're survivors. 3, individuals tend to produce more offspring than will survive. And 4, individuals with mutations or features that have an advantage tend to pass on more of their genes. So I will now have you get out the vocab.